If you've joined us today, you are in our 5th learning series, State Supports for Student, Family, and Community Engagement to Address Chronic Absenteeism. We're in our 2nd session, creating a comprehensive approach to out-of-school programs. Welcome, everyone. Next slide. I'm Anushka Shirali, and I'm serving as the project director for the center. Other key members on this project include Brian Cohane, our project officer, Dr. Tracy Scott, and Liz Lembo from the Department of Education. Sarah Frizzell, the project director at AIR, and we're joined by several staff from both Westat and AIR who will help facilitate our session today. Thank you so much to everyone who worked behind the scenes to make this session possible. Next slide. SEAC's 5th and final learning series of the year builds on our previous series that focused on building capacity for student and family engagement, with a focus on how states and districts can better integrate their strategies, practices, and resources for engagement into a more comprehensive approach. In session 1, if you joined us last week, we heard how the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce and its attendance task force have created a comprehensive systems approach to addressing chronic absenteeism that incorporates student and family engagement as a central strategy of this effort. In session 2 today, we're going to hear about Texas's systems approach to student and family engagement through after-school and summer programming. In session 3 next week, we will look at Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's partnership with the Department of Children and Families to build capacity at the district level to implement innovative school community partnerships. All sessions are being recorded, and all slides and recordings will be shared after the events. The goal for the entire learning series is to understand how state-level supports for student, family, and community engagement can play a critical role in boosting attendance, to learn strategies for integrating engagement efforts into comprehensive approaches to address chronic absenteeism, and to engage with other participants in facilitated breakout groups to learn how your states and districts are using similar strategies. Next slide. Our specific objectives for today's session include understanding how out-of-school time programs can engage students and families to positively affect attendance, learn how Texas has leveraged these partnerships with state agencies and organizations such as the Texas Partnership for Out-of-School Time, and discuss strategies for integrating state or district out-of-school time programs into a systems-based approach. Next slide, please. We've almost covered the first part of today's meeting, which is an introduction to the learning series and objectives. For the rest of the session, we're going to jump into strategies for student engagement through Texas's programs. We're going to break out for about 20 minutes, report back out for about 5 minutes, and then do wrap up and next steps. Tori is going to be dropping a link to a Padlet in the chat because in our last session, participants in the breakout room suggested that it would be nice to have Padlet questions in advance of the breakout rooms. We've also dropped a column for questions for the presenter. So we really want to make sure this is as responsive to your needs as possible. So please keep your questions coming either in the chat or in the Padlet, and you're able to see some of the breakout room questions in advance. Next slide. This triangle might be familiar for those who attended our last week's session. We shared this last week as well as an example of a systems approach to chronic absenteeism. States must be prepared to address chronic absence that is both widespread, affecting most of their schools and districts, as well as concentrated. At the state level, this includes statewide campaigns and guidance relevant for most or all schools and districts. At the district level, this includes focusing on districts with high levels of chronic absenteeism, creating professional learning communities, specific programs to promote attendance and improve school climate, and creating cross-district teams to address attendance. At the school level, this includes focusing on the lowest performing schools and providing intensive TA, coaching, and assistance with designing and implementing school-level initiatives. Our presentation today will cover supports at different levels as well as examples within the systems approach. Next slide. In previous learning series and webinars, we've shared a lot about student and family engagement strategies. However, these strategies do not need to be limited to the school day alone. Out of school time plays an important role in student and family engagement, including supporting families and their basic needs, communicating and building trusting relationships with families, building linkages across individuals and organizations that support students and families, and using a variety of family engagement practices. Out of school time can be linked to increased attendance and outcomes. High quality after school programs can result in significant gains in math test scores and improved reading proficiency. Regular after school program attendance has been found to have a positive impact on school day attendance. And a 2018 quasi-experimental study found that youth who participated in the after school program had significantly higher levels of school attendance, a greater increase in independent reading levels over the academic year, and lower odds of incurring a suspension or expulsion from school than youth in a comparison group. And Tori has put the research articles into the chat. Thanks, Tori. Next slide, please. Today's presenter is going to share more about her work in Texas. Sarah Daly is the Expanded Learning and After School Project Manager at the Texas Education Agency. In this role, she serves as the 21st Century Community Learning Center State Coordinator and manages Texas After School Centers on Education, as well as the Expanded Learning Opportunities Council. Sarah has dedicated her 18-plus year career to expanded learning programs, serving as an enrichment instructor, academic tutor, campus coordinator, and district director in settings including charter schools, nonprofits, and a large urban district. Please join me in welcoming Sarah to share more about her work in Texas and how these programs have supported increasing student attendance. Sarah?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm thrilled to be here with you today to talk about strategies for student engagement through out of school time. So let's get started. So today in my presentation, I'm going to focus on the implementation of the Nita M. Lowey 21st Century Community Learning Centers federal grant in Texas, which we call Texas ACE, or Texas After School Centers on Education. However, this is just one of the programs within the Texas Education Agency's Division of Expanded Learning Models. So I wanted to share the other programs that are within our division. Within all of our programs, we believe that expanded learning is a core component to a student's learning journey. And so it's our responsibility to provide the most coherent and highest quality experience possible within these programs. High quality learning that takes place outside of the traditional school day is a rich opportunity to engage with students and family and the community and foster a positive love of learning. I have a lot of passion for this because I was an out of school time youth leader for many years and a tutor, and I've seen it. I've seen the engagement that can really happen outside of regular school hours, and the power of these programs when they are strongly aligned with school day programs. So although I am focusing on Texas ACE today, I encourage you to explore more about some of our other initiatives within the Expanded Learning Models team, especially around ADSE Summer. So we'll drop information around those other programs into the chat. All right, so now I'll talk a little bit more about Texas ACE. So again, it's funded by the Nita M. Lowey 21st Century Community Learning Centers grant. The program is specifically for students attending Title I schools. In Texas, we serve about 150,000 students annually through these programs. The programs operate during after school hour and every summer for at least 5 weeks. It is a highly competitive grant within our state. It's one of the largest competitions that our agency runs. During our last competition, we had about 145 applications and we were only able to award about 46. We have typically a 0% attrition rate from this program. So I just think that shows how valuable this program is when it's part of a school community. Currently, we have 96 grantees. Each of those grantees can operate up to 10 centers. We have 685 centers right now. Almost all of those centers are at school campuses. Most of the centers are operated directly by school districts, either traditional public schools or charters. Some are operated directly by community-based organizations, about 22%, in partnership with a school district. We also have some that are operated through our educational service centers across the state. Oftentimes that's our rural districts that come together to apply for the grant. So given the number of programs and the diversity across the programs, we have rural areas, we have urban areas, it's really clear that we have set clear expectations on this at the state level for strategic program implementation. And that another thing that's really been essential for us at the state level is to consider how can we reduce the burden on reporting from our grantees to the extent that we can, and give them autonomy at the local level to meet the needs of their students, while also ensuring that all of the programs are meeting a high quality standard for student engagement. So we'll talk a little bit more about our strategy for that now. We can go on to the next slide. All right. So we know funding is not enough to ensure that these out of school time programs are high quality. And so we have, over the last 2 years, worked really hard to fine tune our state supports for the program. We have a new guiding document for our grantees. It's actually still technically a working document. We haven't published it on the TEA website yet, but we can share it here with you today. It's called the Texas ACE Roadmap for High Quality Out of School Time. And this roadmap embeds all of the state and federal compliance requirements, while also striving to help our grantees go through a continuous quality improvement process that leads to student-driven program design that is really engaging for our kids. I don't have time to talk through all of these things today, so I'm going to focus on the first stop along our roadmap today, which we call 5 to Drive the Starting Line. It is really compliance. It's compliance. We talk about it in terms of health with our grantees. We've done a lot of work in this section to think about how can we use what we are collecting from grantees, their grant application, their strategic plan, data that they give to us to regularly and ongoing check in an ongoing way, check for compliance and take the burden off of them throughout that process. Within the 5 to Drive, each of our grantees has a performance coach who supports them along their journey. So that's step 1 that we're going to talk about more, but I'll quickly talk through those other steps. After we finish getting through health, the next piece in our journey is something we call coaching to quality. Coaching to quality is our continuous improvement process that happens on site. All of our grantees get 2 visits per year from their coach, and this is really a conversation that goes beyond compliance into quality and considers the nuance within their local program through an observation that happens from the very start of program all the way to the end. So we've talked about compliance, we've talked about continuous improvement. The next piece in our journey is program evaluation. For the 21st Century Grant, we conduct an extensive state evaluation, and we've been thinking a lot about how we can really ensure we are using the findings from those evaluations to drive programming. So that's what that step is about, and making sure our grantees also understand what's happening through our state evaluation. And also, this is where information around the local evaluation component of our program lives. All of these things are designed to get us to our destination, which we call our Texas ACE Y. And we developed this Texas ACE Y in collaboration with our grantees about 2.5 years ago. So we can go to the next slide and see what the Y is. Our Texas ACE Y, Texas ACE empowers students to realize their potential and change the world. The way we came up with this was through an exercise with our grantees where we asked them, why do you do this work? Why are you here? What do you experience every day with your students? And together we came up with this as our state level why for the program. And not only does this statement serve as a North Star for us at the state that we always go back to? And as we're thinking about, a new item we need to collect, a new initiative we want to integrate, does it drive us through this why? We consider that. So there's that. And then the other thing that has been powerful about this is we've tried to use this as an example for our local programs to consider with their program design. What is your why, and how can you involve your participants in developing a collective why? All right. So now I'm going to get a little bit more into the components of just that first step along our roadmap, our 5 to drive. So what we used to call compliance and now we call health. It's got 5 components, which I will go through in detail. We've got 1 Texas ACE community, 2 crucial times, 3 key strategies, 4 activity types, and 5 measurable goals. So let's talk more about 1 Texas ACE community. You can go on to that next slide. Thank you. All right, so who's in the Texas ACE community? These are all of the people involved in these out of school time programs that make the programs a success. Very important, successful programs need the right staff. They need enough staff, they need qualified staff to run these programs. For our 21st century programs in Texas, we do require that there's a full-time grant director and full-time site coordinators who run the day-to-day operations of programs. We also require that each grant either has a family engagement specialist as part of their program or a program specialist focused on academic integration, community integration, or the development of a high-quality summer program. So they have some autonomy as to what that additional FTE does. But again, we've thought a lot about the staffing structure because that's so essential for the success of the programs. Of course, our students, parents, and volunteers are essential. All of our grantees are required to have a local steering committee so that the decisions within the programs are not just on the program staff. They're bringing in school day staff, they're bringing in community members, they're bringing in local businesses, they're bringing in partners to join them along the journey of developing and leading these high quality activities. We also have TEA and what we call Team ACE, which is our performance coaches as part of this Texas ACE community, because we want them to know we're always there for them. Our goal is to support every program and its implementation at the local level. The steering committee piece, I want to go back to that just for a minute. This is another example that I want to talk through of how we've tried to model what we would like local programs to do by doing it also at the state level. So at the state level, we have something that we call the ACE Resource Network that meets with me and the rest of our team that supports these programs on a monthly basis, and we get their input as we develop new ideas. We also have a group called the Family Engagement Resource Network that meets with the state quarterly to make sure that as we are making decisions about these out of school time programs, we're thinking about the students and the families that these programs support. And we're getting their input on how that's going on the ground. All right, so let's go on to 2 crucial times. So we talked about who are the essential people for running these engaging programs. Now we're going to talk about expectations for implementing the program. In Texas, we have some very rigorous expectations around time for these programs. And when I say time, I mean 2 things. One, around operations. So you can see here the expectations that we have around how often these programs operate. The after-school programs operate for 155 days in the school year. They also operate a 25-day summer program. And both after school and in the summer, we want to know that they're going to have a family engagement opportunity. So an opportunity for the families of the students participating to come in and join in. And I'm going to talk about that more in a little bit. So we've got those operation goals. The next thing we do that we have is we have some really rigorous expectations for student attendance within the program, because the design of these programs is not drop-in. We really want our grantees to consider how they can intentionally recruit students for this program and retain students in this program, because when the students come regularly, it improves their school day attendance and other outcomes. So having those rigorous expectations for student attendance has been really important. Okay, we'll go on to the next piece, which is our 3 key strategies. These are kind of the 3 big things that we talk about all the time as key for having high quality, engaging programs. And we check for these things both through our 5 to Drive compliance process and through our coaching to quality process when we go on site. So the first of the key strategies is strong program operations. First and foremost, we want to ensure all of the programs are safe, supportive environments for all participants, for the students, for the staff, and for the families. So what that means is, do they have all of the systems set up to ensure the program is running smoothly? Things like program schedules, systems for taking daily attendance, drop-off and pickup procedures, safety plans. It also means that the program staff, the students, and the families have a shared understanding about what it means to have a safe and supportive program. The next key strategy is alignment to the school day. So this goes beyond those sort of operational pieces to make sure that the after-school staff and summer staff understands what's happening in the school day. They're involved in the appropriate meetings, groups, committees, professional development. And in doing so, they can make sure that what is happening in the program, the actual activities for the kids, is aligned with academic content that's happening during the school day, and also just, the systems, the culture, the philosophy of the school itself. The next is community involvement. Most of our Texas ACE grantees submit their application in partnership with a community organization, as we give priority points in that area. There are some, like some of our programs in very rural areas, where they may not have the opportunity to have a community partner, but we really encourage it. And if they cannot have a formal partnership with a community organization, we work with them to consider how can they still involve their local community within the program. We find that our programs that have strong community input and community involvement are more likely to sustain some component of their program after funding ends. So it's really important. It's also just important for making sure the program is reflective of the community that it serves. All right, so then let's talk through the different kinds of activities that our programs offer. So we've got that right staff, they've got those strategies in place, they know when they need to operate. What are they actually offering to our students? What are these engaging activities that they are leading? All of our programs are required to offer activities within what we call our 4-activity model. We have them enter attendance for these activities regularly, and we track that as part of our compliance process to make sure they are engaging in all of these 4 activities, that these are all built into their program schedule. So for targeted academic support, for instructional coherence, we incentivize use of some of our state-approved high-quality instructional materials and implementation of high-impact tutoring, which is supported through our Texas tutoring team. Grantees can also use this targeted academic support for homework assistance if that's a fit for them, or use it for other academic supports in alignment with school day. Student interest-based enrichment. I like to say, this is where we find our OST joy. This is the carrot. This is the thing that makes these programs really fun for the kids. We support our grantees by providing them with a lot of resources and tools so that they can develop engaging and fun experiences that are a fit for them at the local level. We encourage them to align with school day curricular themes, get creative, and of course, get lots of student and staff input in the development of these enrichment activities make them project-based, make them fun, bring in the community for these enrichment opportunities. Next is college and career readiness activities. You'll see in the evaluation highlights that we'll share with you that our secondary students that attend Texas ACE complete CTE courses at a higher level than non-participants at the same campus. So that college and career readiness activities give our kids a chance to see what the possibilities are for them and also have additional time to engage in work-based learning and activities that prepare them for college and career. The last one is family engagement, and I'll just share from my own experience working in out-of-school time programs. Often the out-of-school time program can be a bridge for the families to the school day if they're not able to be there and engaged in the school day during those traditional school day hours. So by building in this intentional time, it builds trust for the program. It creates an opportunity for families to get involved. This is a really important piece of our program, which is why we do require that our programs have some type of family engagement at least once a month. What that family engagement looks like can vary broadly based on local interests and needs. We do encourage activities that support family literacy. We also encourage activities that just provide quality time for parents and families to come together, things like cooking clubs, book clubs, sports activities, arts activities. Our 21st Century grantees have a great opportunity here too for school day alignment and supporting the school day as they can supplement and increase the events such as showcases, book fairs, science fairs, and other school day events and support those activities. We feel like the key to success for the family engagement component is making sure that it is consistent and ongoing, and it aligns with the other activities within the program schedule. All right. So all of these things that I've spoken about move our programs closer to meeting 5 measurable goals. When our grantees submit their application, they all set a SMART goal in each of these areas. And the one that we most regularly see improvement in is in the improvement in school day attendance piece. So I'll just talk a little bit about some information we had in a recent Texas ACE state evaluation highlight. So we can go on to the next slide. So we found that at campuses served by Texas ACE, the chronic absenteeism rate for non-participants was 37% versus 15% for those who regularly participated in both the after-school and the summer program. So students who had access and regularly attended these out-of-school time offerings were at school more often as well. And so I'll just summarize some of our key strategies for engagement within our out-of-school time programs. We can go on to that slide. So again, the most essential thing that has to happen first is strong operations for these programs, making sure first and foremost that the out-of-school time program has very intentionally thought about how they can make the environment supportive and safe for all attendees, staff, students, families. Thinking through a quality staff model is so important. Having a steering committee, so it's not just the program staff coming up with the ideas for this program, but it's broader than that. It involves those who are working during the traditional school day and community outside of that. And then broader community involvement outside of that steering committee. So bringing in partnerships, bringing in businesses, really getting the parents involved is so, so important. And then we think that our 4-activity model is really essential too, making sure that schedule is well balanced. We've got the kids coming in there to do those academic support activities. So we're moving them forward academically, but they are also experiencing student interest-based enrichment that is engaging, and they've had a piece in developing They have opportunity for college and career readiness. And as I've mentioned, family engagement is an equally essential component of the program. And that's it. It's a little bit about Texas ACE.
Thank you so much, Sarah. We actually have one question that came in. Oh, I'm seeing more questions, but let me give you one question that came in through the Padlet. How large are the grants that fund this comprehensive scope of operations?
So they can be up to 2 million. That's the maximum. And that's to serve up to 10 centers.
All right, and then we will have you respond to the other question in the Padlet when we move people to a breakout room, but we're doing really well on time. So we're going to move into breakout rooms for about 20 minutes and then come back for about 5 minutes of report out. If you can go to the next slide, Taniko. And this is a little bit about what your facilitators will help guide in those conversations. What are some of the key lessons you learned from the presentation today? How have you observed out of school time programs leveraged at the state, district, and/or school level to boost school day attendance? So we'll have you all jump into breakout rooms, and then facilitators will add responses to the Padlet, and we'll bring everyone back after the allotted time. Hope you enjoy your conversations. Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to invite one or two facilitators to report out, but before we do that, I want to put a link in the chat, the program on the Department of Education's website, the 21st Century Community Learning Center program. And for general information about the program, here's an email address that you can use. Can I invite one or two of our facilitators to just share a little bit about what happened in your breakout rooms?
I'll share. So what the main takeaway that we talked about in our room was just that the after school program really seems like a great way to improve school attendance. And not only is the 4-component model very helpful, but also the fact that model is basically being validated with the statewide evaluation results is very exciting. And so there was kind of a question about, like, what does the next step look like? What does the qualitative data look like? There was also a lot of discussion about the family engagement and how that's a valuable part of the programming as well as student attendance.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Anyone else?
Yeah, sure, I can go. This is Kristen. We talked a little bit about in our group, we had several people who were newer to the program learning about OST. And so there were several questions just about communication and the collaboration between the school staff and the after school staff, and how do you create that buy-in for the teachers and the principals that have the kids during the day, and then how does that translate to the students after school and and that continuation of services, so there's no break in the day for the kids. And then I just want to highlight that in Mississippi, they have talked a lot about, student attendance, and they have toolkits. They've attended some conferences in partnership with the National Dropout Prevention Center. And so they have started to take some of these things that they're learning and implement them. And they have a whole month that's dedicated to student attendance. And they're just looking to continue to support in ways such as after school or other things and other options that are out there.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Kristen. So next slide. All right, so as we wrap up, I just want to extend my gratitude to Sarah for presenting today, for everyone for joining and sharing during the breakout rooms. Just so you all know, Sarah has been furiously typing responses back to all the questions in the Padlet. So go back into the Padlet to column 1 if you left a question, and you can find responses there. For any questions that came in after our breakout room time together, we'll try to get those questions answered as best we can and make sure that we update the Padlet. Next slide. So our last and final session in this learning series is next week on September 3rd, right after the Labor Day holiday. In our last session, just a reminder that we're hearing from Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's partnership with the Department of Children and Families to build capacity at the district level to implement innovative school community partnerships. We really hope you can join us. Next slide. We always want to ensure that these sessions are meeting your needs. With that in mind, we're dropping a short feedback form in the chat, or there's a QR code on the screen. Please let us know how you thought the session went. We're always looking to continuously improve our learning series sessions. There will be an email following this session today where you will receive the slides as well as the recording and also a link to this evaluation form. But we really hope you can take a couple of minutes today to let us know how we did. Next slide. As always, if you're interested in working one-on-one with a subject matter expert at SEAC, let us know. The email address is now on the slide and will be in the thank you email as well. Next slide. To learn more about our work, here's a QR code that leads directly to the website. And this is the webpage on the Department of Education's website that refers back to all the SEAC learning resources and tools. And we're always posting new content. So bookmark this link and we will make sure that all of our content is available there. With that, and a minute to the hour, I thank you all for your participation. Thank you so much for joining today. And we hope to see you on our next session next week. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.